Gee whiz.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kim. And this is Aaron. Aaron.
Gee whiz, Dr. Kim. Where does it all come from?
Well, I got that at a card store, and those over there I got from that toy store on Nicholasville Road.
No, not the stuff. I mean, where does it all come from? Where do all the sheep and the pigs and the cows and the dogs, and even where do we come from?
That's a good question, because we talk about lots of animals in this show, don't we? But we don't really talk about where they all come from.
That sounds like a bunch of shows, not just one. I mean, it looks like they start out really differently.
Yeah, when you look at these kittens and a fish and a horse, well, you'd never think they came from the same place, would you?
Yeah, especially when you see the difference between a chicken egg and a calf. I mean, cows don't lay eggs.
No, they don't lay eggs like we think of, like a chicken lays an egg, but actually, cows do have eggs.
Cow eggs? That's one huge egg.
Really, they're very, very small. You'd think a cow's egg would be huge just because a cow is huge, but actually, cow's eggs are tiny. If you want to get a good look at a cow's egg, you have to use a microscope. Want to see?
Sure. Gee whiz.
Actually, it's Gee Whiz in agriculture.
So that's why we're here today, to talk about where horses and cows come from.
And chickens and piglets and lambs.
Oh my. Before we go any further, maybe we should start out with some questions from the Gee Whiz kids.
Which came first, the chicken or the eggs? Where's the cow or the egg? Cow eggs. You get milk from cows, not eggs. If cows have eggs, do chickens have milk? Can you milk a chicken? Are there any gray chickens or are they all just chicken? You can eat chicken eggs. And duck eggs. And ostrich eggs. How about fish? You can eat fish eggs too. It's called caviar. Ew! Where do fish come from? The water. When a mother she gets mad at her baby, does she say, "Bad boy"? Where do sheep come from? And pigs. And puppies. Where do they all come from? Gee whiz!
That was my question. Where do they all come from?
Now see, you'd think that was a hard question, but actually it's a very simple question with a very simple answer. They all come from the same place.
I came from the same place as a cow or a chicken.
Absolutely.
And where is that?
From your parents.
I know that all those chickens and piglets and lambs did not come from my parents.
Well, not from your parents, but they all had parents. You see, all animals start out with a mother and a father, just like you did. And then if we look at the earliest stages of development, not only do we all come from the same place, we even look alike. At the very earliest stages, you can't tell a fish from a cow.
This is all too weird.
No, it's not really weird, it's just biology. But I guess it does sound strange the first time you hear it. I think we have somebody who can help us clear up this question. How about it, Brittany? Can you help us?
Well, if I can't, I have someone here who can. This is Dr. Karen McDowell, and she's an expert on things like this. So, Dr. McDowell, can you clear things up for us?
Well, I'll try. Why don't you take a look in here?
So what are we looking at now, a horse or a cow?
We can't tell from looking at it. We'll just have to wait and find out.
So where do we find an egg like this?
Inside the mother.
And is this where baby animals come from?
Maybe we should ask our detective to solve that mystery.
Yes, 'tis I, the world's greatest detective, here to solve yet another incredibly difficult case. But not to worry. I am on the trail of the baffling baby mystery. Where do all those baby animals come from? I say, let's begin at the beginning, which in this case would be with a mother and a father. It seems very clear that no matter what kind of baby you're talking about, chickens or piglets or lambs, oh my, there's always a mother and a father in the picture. Now, why would that be? Of course, how silly of me. Half of every baby is made from its mother and half from its father. Simple, you see. It takes two very special cells to make a baby. one cell from the father, called a sperm, along with one cell from the mother, called an ovum or egg. The sperm comes from organs called testicles in the male, and the ovum comes from organs called ovaries in the female. I say, do you realize that means all females, not just chickens, have eggs? Remarkable! I astonish myself. Oh, where was I? Oh yes, as I was saying, these two special cells called gametes join together in a miraculous process called fertilization. The DNA or genetic materials from the sperm cell and the DNA from the egg cell join together to form a brand new baby. A brand new zygote. What's that you say? A zygote? Why, a zygote is simply a single cell that will actually become an entire new baby. Imagine! Stunning, isn't it? And where does all this occur? Why, in the oviduct, of course. The oviduct is located inside the mother's body. So you see, this explains why babies always come from mothers and never from fathers. So now we know where the baby animal comes from to begin with. But dear me, how does a baby animal get from that single cell into a four-legged bundle of joy with millions and millions of cells? Oh, bother, what a puzzle! Let me look around a bit. I say, what's this? Look what I have so serendipitously stumbled upon in this microscope. Aha! Thought you could hide from me by making yourself invisible to the naked eye, eh? You forget who you're dealing with. We've happened upon a fertilized egg, a zygote. Gracious, what's it doing? Why, it's growing! That single cell is dividing into two cells, and then four cells, and then... Oh yes, of course, I know what goes on here. It's cleaving. The zygote cleaves itself into 2, then 4, then 8 cells, and so forth. It's increasing its cell number, and now it's called an embryo. And do you know where this little embryo is while it's doing all this cleaving? Why, it's bouncing down the oviduct, heading for the uterus. Ah, the uterus, the organ in the mother's body that will provide a safe place for that embryo to grow from just a few cells into a full-size baby ready to take on the world. Indeed, within a few days of fertilization, the embryo will settle on the lining of the uterus and implant, all of which means, I dare say, that the embryo is now attaching itself to the mother and growing circulatory membranes. But why, you ask? Why must the embryo attach itself to the mother? Why, it's so elementary, my dear. Because the mother is going to provide everything that embryo needs to grow from just a few cells to a full-grown baby with millions of cells. Oh, yes, mother will provide it with oxygen and with food, and she will take away carbon dioxide and waste products for it too, all through the umbilical cord. Why, she provides a first-class hotel with room service and garbage collection. Oh my. And there you have it. Now you know where babies come from, for I have solved the baffling baby mystery. But let us not say adieu, for I believe you will need my services again, and very shortly indeed.
I'm glad we have a detective working for us. So where are we going next?
Inside a pregnant mother.
You see, I told you I would be needed again, for I am the world's greatest detective and solving the case of the puzzling pregnancy is next on my agenda. We have established the fact that an embryo is now residing inside a mother, who is eating and breathing oxygen for both herself and the embryo, yes? I feel it incumbent upon myself to tell you that this situation is called pregnancy, and the mother is pregnant. There, you have it. Now let me see. We said it took only a few days for the embryo to cleave and migrate from the oviduct down to the uterus. But female sheep and horses and pigs and even humans are pregnant for months and months. What can they be doing all that time? Whatever takes so long? Let's peek inside and find out. Say, what's this? This isn't cleavage anymore, but it certainly is a lot of movement, is it not? How does it do that? Indeed, how does that one single cell in the zygote know to become all the millions of different cells in a newborn? What I mean to say is, how does that one cell know to become liver cells, and heart cells, and bone cells, and skin cells, and eye cells? Why, it's elementary, of course. It's because excuse me for a moment. Keep watching this. I shall return shortly. Eureka! I've found it! Simply a matter of knowing where to look. Simple, that is, if you're a genius like me. The answer is differentiation. Still not clear? Not to worry, I'll show you. You see, the zygote contains all the information it needs to become one complete newborn baby. That information is in the DNA of the chromosomes in the zygote's nucleus. Once the embryo is formed and attached to its mother, the DNA begins to tell the new cells what they should become. The DNA is like an instruction manual. Or, if you look at it another way, DNA is like a bobbin, or you would say a traffic cop. And it directs the cells to become heart cells or bone cells or brain cells. This is differentiation, telling the new cells to become different kinds of cells. So you see, differentiation is an important part of what's going on during pregnancy. And differentiation happens in almost the same way for all of us. Pigs, dogs, giraffes, and humans too. So at the beginning, the embryos of all these species look so much alike, you can't even tell what they're going to be. Then the embryo becomes a fetus. That's when you can look at it and tell that it's going to be a horse or a pig or a human. In a horse, for example, within the first 3 weeks, the organs and major body parts form, and the heart begins to beat. By the 4th month, all the organs are very much as they will be when the horse is born 7 months later, only they are smaller and need some detail work. Can you believe it? Isn't it stunning how brilliantly I have solved both the baffling baby mystery and the case of the puzzling pregnancy? All in one day. Smashing! No, really, it was nothing. Really.
So that's what makes us all different.
Well, yes and no.
I don't understand.
That's what makes our bones different from our muscles, but it's our DNA and our environment that makes us different from each other, and we're really not that different after all.
Even from chickens?
Even from chickens. Let's go talk to Dr. Austin Cantor. He can tell us about chickens.
We're here at the Kentucky Poultry Research Farm, and you must be Dr. Cantor.
That's right.
Dr. McDowell said you would explain about DNA and why we're not all that different from chickens.
Actually, there are some similarities as well as differences between DNA in chickens and DNA in humans. First, the similarities are that both species have the same building blocks or nucleic acids to make up DNA. But the big difference is the order in which these nucleic acids appear in the DNA. A sequence or order of nucleic acids will determine specific characteristics or traits. And because the chicken has a different sequence, it obviously has some very different traits and therefore appears to be very different from a human. Now, what about some other differences? Another difference is that the number of chromosomes, which are the packages which contain the DNA, are different. Human cells have about 46 chromosomes, or 23 pair. In the case of the chicken, the cell here has 78 chromosomes, or 39 pair. There's another big difference in the genetics of humans and chickens, and that is that in the case of humans, it is the father that determines the sex of the offspring. In the case of the chicken, the hen determines whether the baby chick is going to be a male or a female.
And now you know where they all come from.
Yeah, but I know they're all different after they're born, so what happens next?
Maybe we should talk to Brittany again.
I'm here at the University of Kentucky Coldstream Farm with Dr. George Hershey. Hi, Dr. Hershey.
How are you, Brittany?
Fine, thank you. Dr. Hershey is an expert on dairy production. But what does dairy production have to do with mothers and fathers and babies?
Oh my.
Well, actually, Brittany, it has everything to do. Cows are mammals, and as with all mammals, they must have a baby before they can produce milk.
So everything Dr. McDowell told us earlier is happening right now inside of her.
That's correct, Brittany. Both of these cows are pregnant. We'll be having their babies within the next month. And the babies, of course, are inside the uterus. The calf is getting its nutrition through the umbilical cord, which runs from the membranes that line the uterus of the cow to the calf's belly button. That is very, very important because the calf needs oxygen and nutrients and gets that oxygen and nutrients through that umbilical cord.
So Dr. Cantor, Dr. Hershey was telling us how the unborn calf gets its food and oxygen from an umbilical cord. Are chickens the same?
No, chickens are quite different. The little embryo inside the egg, it has to develop completely disconnected from the mother. So the question is, how is it going to get its oxygen and its food? The eggshell may appear to you as a very solid object, but if you look at it under the microscope, you can see that there are something like 10,000 pores in this eggshell. That is, little holes in the shell. That means that allows the oxygen to go through those little holes in the shell. It will then pass through the membranes underneath the shell and finally into blood vessels, which will carry the oxygen to the embryo. Now, you know that the embryo also gives off carbon dioxide, and the way it gets rid of that is through the opposite route. You also asked me about food. Because it's disconnected from the mother, the hen has to put all of the nutrients that the embryo needs to develop into the egg before the egg is ever laid.
How does the chick know when to break the egg?
The chick embryo develops with some very strong neck muscles. It also has a horny, sharp beak tooth, which is not really a tooth, but it's a little growth on top of the beak, which is going to help it break the shell. And during the 21st day of development, what's going to happen is that it's going to thrust the beak through the shell. That's called pipping, and we'll start the process of hatching. Let's take a look in our incubator and see if we can find any eggs that are in that process. I'm going to close this so the rest of the eggs stay warm. I found an egg that just began the process of pipping. You can see the crack in the shell. And I've got another egg that's a little bit further along. Here you can see the two. This one has progressed quite a bit more. This embryo is going to have to continue breaking the shell in a circular fashion, going around the round end of the egg. When it gets about 2/3 of the way or so around, it's going to throw off the top of the egg and hatch. Now that's a lot of work for that little embryo. So when it hatches, it's going to be quite tired.
So do you take special care of the pregnant mothers?
Yes, we do. The dairy cow is pregnant for 9 months. That, of course, is the same length of time that the human female is pregnant. When the cow is 7 months pregnant, the calf weighs about 30 pounds, and when the calf is born, it weighs about 90. So about 2/3 of the growth happens in the last 2 months of the pregnancy or the last 2 months of the gestation. And of course, the calf has very specific nutritional needs.
How important is proper nutrition to an unborn baby? Well, just like with us, what it eats affects how it grows. But unlike us, an unborn baby doesn't have a choice. It has to rely on its mother to eat the right things.
Today, on a very special As the Womb Turns.
Honey, I thought I'd fix some lunch. Are you in the mood for anything?
Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of tired. Whatever you're having is fine. I'm not that hungry.
Hey, Mom! Mom, down here. Yeah, it's me. Your son.
Ow. I hear you. You don't have to kick me.
I didn't kick you.
I was just talking to the baby. He's being a little active today.
Sorry, I just wanted to put in my lunch order.
Your lunch order?
Did you say something?
Just talking to myself.
Good cover. Look, I'm working on building my bones today. In fact, I'm right in the middle of growing my humerus, and that's not funny. And I need some calcium. Could you send out some milk?
Honey, could you pour me a glass of milk, please?
Coming right up.
Thanks.
You're a good mom. Hey, wait. Is that roast beef I see in there? A roast beef sandwich would be really great, because I got all these muscles to build, and you know what that takes.
Protein.
What about it?
I feel like I need some protein. Could you fix me a roast beef sandwich, please?
Well, I was going to fix you a salad. Wouldn't you rather have a salad?
Salad? Yay!
A salad would be great.
A salad has vitamins and minerals, and boy, oh boy, I can always use more of those.
A salad and a roast beef sandwich. That'd really hit the spot.
Both?
Both.
And I need carbohydrates, Mom, because all this growing takes lots of energy. So let's have some spaghetti.
And some spaghetti.
Spaghetti?
And orange juice.
And orange juice. And some cheese. And grapes. Some turnips and bread and are there some Brussels sprouts in there? Cheese.
So how many calves does a cow normally have?
A cow usually has one calf at a time. Sometimes they'll have twins, but usually just one calf at a time.
And people usually have one child at a time.
Correct.
But why do cats and dogs have 5 or 6 children?
Cats and dogs and pigs genetically are litter-bearing animals, and they release more than one egg from the ovary at a time, whereas the cow and the human just release one egg at a time.
So let me get this straight. When a calf is inside its mother, it gets its oxygen from the umbilical cord. And when it comes out, it breathes like we do. But when does it make the switch?
Well, it makes that transition right after it's born. After it's born, it takes its first breath, the lungs expand and take oxygen in. The oxygen goes to the blood and goes to all the tissues of the body, and then the carbon dioxide comes in the blood back to the lungs and is exhaled through the lungs when the calf breathes out.
Here's the big question. How does a calf know when it's ready to be born?
Well, there are a series of hormonal changes that occur at the end of the pregnancy, and when all those hormone levels are just right, the birth starts.
Which reminds me, we've been keeping our eye on an egg over at Dr. Cantor's. Let's go see if it's hatched. How fast will this chick grow now that it's been hatched?
Well, this chick is a broiler type chick. That's the kind of chick we use for meat production. And it will probably be about 5.5 pounds in 6 weeks.
Does it get its food from a mother?
Birds don't get milk from mothers like mammals do. The baby chick is born or hatched with all the enzymes it needs so it can eat regular chicken feed from day one. So the hen doesn't have to worry about the nutrition of her offspring.
I guess that just about covers it. Everything you need to know about chickens, piglets, and lambs in an eggshell.
Well, I think she answered all of our questions on development.
Yeah, but I still would like to know which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, that's one that even the experts don't agree on.
Well, at least we know that the chicken came from the egg, and the egg comes from the chicken, so... Wait a minute, neither came first.
Now we've answered all the questions.
Yeah, but I still can't believe I was the same as a chicken once.
Oh, I don't know. I start seeing a little resemblance around the nose, maybe.
Yeah, now that you mention it, you are starting to remind me of some of those sheep you spend so much time with.
Thank you very much. I take that as a compliment. And while we're handing out compliments, we better thank all the folks who helped us today, like Dr. Karen McDowell.
And Dr. George Hershey.
And Dr. Austin Canner.
And you.
And you.
And Brittany, too.
And we'll see you next time on
Gee Whiz in Agriculture.